Hello class, today we're going to talk about section 4.3, which is writing equations in point-slope form. By the end of today's lesson, you'll be able to write and graph equations in point-slope form and convert between the three forms of linear equations, which is standard form, slope-intercept form, and point-slope form. Point-slope form is our final type of linear format that we are going to see. Y minus y1 is equal to m parentheses x minus x1. Slope is still our m variable in this equation. Y1 and x1 come from a point. So we would have x1 comma y1, and those get plugged into the equation at their respective locations. Just like the other two forms of the equation, there is a y and an x in the final answer. That's going to be this y right here and that x right there. Notice that it is y minus y1, so it starts out as a negative. If your y value is your y1 value is a negative, minus a negative is going to turn into a positive. Same case with x. If your x1 is a negative, minus a negative is going to turn into a positive. So we want to write and graph the equation that passes through the point negative 2, 1 and has a slope of 6. So our first job is to identify that our slope is m, and then we have x1 and y1. The equation, a reminder from last slide, is y minus y1 is equal to m in parentheses x minus x1. So we're going to go through and plug in our values. Y stays put, minus y1, which is 1, is equal to slope of negative 6 times x minus x1, which is negative 2. Like I said on the last case, minus a negative turns into a positive. So your equation is y minus 1 is equal to negative 6 parentheses x plus 2. When we come to graph, instead of starting on this y-axis like we have done with our other, or like we did last section, we are going to start at the point that they give us. So we're going to go negative 2 and down 1. That's going to be our starting point. We still need to, when we're looking at slope, in this case we have to turn it into a fraction. So that's going to be negative 6 over 1. So we are going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and go over 1 to get that next point in our equation. So the idea of using slope is still the same. We are then going to go ahead and put in our line going all the way through the graph, connecting our points, and making sure that we finish up by putting those arrows on the end. So that's how we are going to write and graph in point-slope form. Go ahead and try this one on your own. So what we've got here is our final graph. Our final equation is going to be y is equal, or excuse me, not y is equal to y plus 3 is equal to 5/7, our slope, times x plus 6. Again, both of those turn into positives because we are minusing negative 6 and minusing negative 3. The other thing that we want to be able to do today is go in between the three types of linear equations. So right now we are given an equation in point-slope form. Y plus 3 is equal to 2/5 x plus 5. We want to rewrite that equation to get it into standard form. Just a quick reminder, standard form is ax plus by is equal to c. A couple important things on that. A is positive. There are no fractions or decimals. And A, B, and C can't be divided by the same number. Alright, so those are your quick reminders of what it means to be in standard form. I'm going to go ahead and erase those so that I have a little bit more space to work. So our goal is to get x and y on the same side. The first thing you're going to want to do is get rid of those parentheses. In order to get rid of the parentheses, we're going to need to use the distributive property. We're going to end up with y plus 3 is equal to 2/5 x plus 2/5 times 5. Off to the side, if you remember when we multiply fractions, we multiply our top and our bottom. 10 divided by 5 gives me plus 2. So right now at y plus 3 is equal to 2/5 x plus 2. One of the things we don't want in standard form, and that a lot of people don't like to work with, are fractions. So what I like to do next is get rid of that fraction. In order to get rid of a fraction, we can multiply by the denominator. What this means is if we're doing it to the fraction, we have to do it to the entire equation. So we've got y times 5, which gives me 5y, plus 3 times 5, which gives me 15, is equal to 2/5 times 5, which we just did off to the side, giving us 2x plus 2 times 5, which gives me 10. So if we are getting rid of that fraction, we need to multiply all terms of the equation by the denominator. Now we're worried about getting those x and y on the same side. Remember, in standard form, it is key that our x stays positive. So I am going to leave this 2x alone because it is already positive. I want the y to get over by the x, so I'm going to subtract 5y, giving me 15 is equal to 2x plus 10 minus 5y. We want to get rid of that 10 to make sure x and y are the only thing on that side of the equation. So I'm going to subtract 10, and I get 5 is equal to 2x minus 5y. That is the same equation that we started with, except for now it is written in standard form. Go ahead and try this one on your own, rearranging to get into standard form. Again, first step is the distributive property, so negative 6x minus 54. There are no fractions or decimals to worry about this time, so we're going to start moving things around. Because our x was positive, or excuse me, our x was negative, we want to turn it into a positive, so we're going to add that to the other side of the equation. Then we want to get that 10 away from our x and our y value, adding 10 to the other side, giving us a final answer of 6x plus y is equal to negative 44. If you have questions about that, let me know when you get to class. We can also rearrange our point-slope form into our slope-intercept form. Quick reminder, slope-intercept is y is equal to mx plus b. There are none of those special rules for slope-intercept form, so fractions are okay, decimals are okay, negatives are okay. So all we are concerned about doing is rearranging so that y is the only thing on one side of the equation. Looking at this one to start, again, your first goal is to get rid of parentheses. So we're going to use our distributive property and get y plus 6 is equal to negative 3x plus 12. Negative 3 times negative 4 turns into a positive 12. We want y to be the only thing by itself, so we're going to leave the y alone and move the 6 to the other side of the equation. So I end up with y is equal to negative 3x plus 6. And that gives us our slope-intercept equation. Go ahead and try this one on your own. Again, looking at that distributive property first, we do negative 1/3 times 2, which gives us negative 2/3, and negative 1/3 times 6, which gives us negative 2. Then we got to get the 3 to the other side. Subtracting 3, you end up with y is equal to negative 2/3 x minus 5. If you have questions about this or any other part of the lesson, please let me know when you get to class.